I am so privileged today to introduce to you Susie and Trevor Rounce. They are the husband-wife team and co-founders behind Switchback Creative. It's a small digital agency that focuses on branding, website development, and advertising. Susie is the graphic designer, and Trevor is a web developer. With more than 33 years of combined experience, they have seen that storytelling is the best way to market a business. Their success has been recognized by several awards, and Switchback Creative exists for people who believe in the power of their company vision. I love that introduction. It has quite a bit to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's great to be here.
How did you two meet?
We met online, actually. We met in Match.com. So we met in our early 30s, and yeah, it's kind of through a love of bike riding. Trevor was a road biker, I was a mountain biker, and yeah, we just started biking and hanging out, and the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah.
Rather than love at first sight, if I read your article correctly, it sounded like we knew we wanted to work together before we actually knew we wanted to marry. Is that correct?
It is true. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was funny that it just seemed like we got along, really loved spending time together, and really just wanted to find ways to kind of combine our ideas and that sort of, I guess, like problem solving kind of parts of our brains together, and kind of combine
Yeah.
forces and figure out what we could do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then it just flourished into running a business and yeah, creating Switchback Creative.
It's kind of unique to have a business partnership develop into a love relationship. Uh, what brought each of you to your particular career path?
I did go to school for this and went to visual communications. So I went to Alberta University of the Arts for visual communications, and I kind of just fell into it as I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I grew up, I guess, and just went to art school because I always did lots of, art and got scholarships and enjoyed doing it, but didn't really like I guess I'm not as good when it's just kind of wide open, when there's no parameters. And I definitely love the fact that graphic design and just solving problems for people is all about parameters and restrictions, and you can do this and you can't do that, and this is what our industry is about. And I love the variety, so I really just kind of fell into it and didn't even really know it was a profession, and just felt so at home, and like it was such a great fit. So I really kind of just got lucky, I think, more than anything.
Sounds like you like putting a puzzle together when it has a frame.
Exactly. It's true. If I had to create the puzzle, good luck. I don't know. I don't enjoy that as much. But
Okay.
Trevor has such a different background.
Yeah. I actually started in the electrical trades, and I was an electrician for 16 years. And I think after I kind of was doing that for a while, I just thought, well, what would be the next challenge and next great kind of step to take? And when I met Susie, we were thinking like business ideas, and yeah, that's where the idea of like, well, maybe I'll go back and learn web development as my next career. So yeah, I definitely started off in a field that I never thought I'd end up where I am today, but now I've been doing web development for at least 11 years now. It's
Mhm.
been
Yeah.
yeah, and it was a really good decision.
Do you see any parallels between your original career and the web development path?
Yeah, I do actually. Just the troubleshooting and trying to figure out how things are working, like especially in the electrical field. That's one of the biggest skills they try to teach you is troubleshooting. And when writing code and building apps and websites, it doesn't always work. And so that troubleshooting skill has come in handy of just a logical step of taking things apart and just kind of looking at bit by bit to try and figure out where the issues are, where the bugs are, and it's a lot similar to being in the trades, being an electrician when it doesn't always work, and you've got to be able to take things apart and logically think, what's going on here and how can we fix this. So there was some skills that did cross over, definitely.
If I understood your article correctly, you taught yourself web development. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, fully self-taught. I was actually self-teaching myself while I was still working as an electrician. So there was a lot of long nights when we first started this. I would work my regular job and then come home and go to school, online school. And that's the beauty thing about software web development, is that there's so many online resources that it did make it relatively easy to kind of find the path that you want to go on. And there's definitely not a shortage of courses on anything from JavaScript to Python to CSS, how this stuff kind of works and operates. There's so many resources out there, and the community itself, web development,
It's
is
so
really
welcoming.
so welcoming, so
Yeah.
helpful. There's a lot of people that helped me out when I first started and kind of directed me on what to do and how to do it. So yeah, it was a little difficult at the start, a lot of long nights and evenings and weekends, but there was also a lot of people that helped me get past that point of just initially trying to figure this out. So
I have a grandson that when he was in high school, he spent a summer vacation teaching himself 3 different web development languages. And now he builds, websites for big companies. His parents wanted him to go to college and he tried, but he said, I know more than my professors. It's a waste of time.
well, that's
Absolutely.
one of the really neat things about the web and building apps and software, is that it changes so fast.
Yes.
Especially nowadays, it changes almost on a monthly or even weekly basis. So if you're in a university course, you might be getting outdated information, where as you're learning and self-teaching yourself, you're literally getting the most up-to-date current kind of best practices and best ways and new technologies. So I can see an advantage to doing it both ways. It will create, I think, a completely different developer, but you'll have the skills to do what you want to do.
Well, he's doing very well for himself without a college degree. So
That's awesome.
in the article, you say that a good story is the best marketing tool. I believe there's nothing more powerful than a story. How do you find the story in any given business that comes to you for help?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I mean, lots of conversations. I mean, the kind of the creative brief kickoff that we always do with people is really just kind of get to know you and like talk about how you got here and what your background is, and like a lot of the questions you kind of just asked us here now. I mean, it really starts to put the pieces together and really form the ideas of what it is that made a business and how they kind of came to be. And people, if you ask them a certain way or turn it into a business context, I guess, in terms of saying, what are your values, or how did you get started, or what's your origin story, people seem to just kind of glaze over. But if you really just have a conversation with them and start to pull out what it is that inspired them, to kind of be where they are now, or what in their life has affected them, then these really interesting nuggets start to come out, and then we can kind of start to piece it all together and help them connect the dots. Yeah, it is really just a conversation to start, and then just kind of doing research and pulling at those threads more and more seems to help. And definitely doing those things in person. I mean, COVID, we obviously did them online, but we still find today that as much as we can do those creative brief kickoffs face to face, is just we get so much more information from it.
It sounds like you peel the onion back until you really get their core vision, or what energizes them, what drives them, and
Mhm.
make it a story. Sounds great. Tell us about 1 or 2 of the recipients of your Trailblazer Nonprofit Award.
Yeah, that's been a really fun
Yeah.
journey and definitely something that we didn't think would kind of catch on, I guess, as much as it did. And yeah, I mean, I'll let you maybe say your favorite one. You can think while I go through, but we've been able to help everything from the public library here to museums, to kind of brain rehab organizations, to foundations. Like, it's been pretty incredible the amount of variety of companies and groups, and really just like, infrastructure, I guess, and communities we've been able to help. I guess for favorites, do you have one that was your favorite?
It's hard to pick a favorite.
Or maybe just
I
one.
love them all for what, the projects that they were and what they represented. I just love the fact that, like, we, as a creative company, it's I like elevating the people that are actually out there doing the good work, right? So, being able to help these organizations that know how to help people, but maybe not necessarily know how to build a website or get their brand in order and get the word out. That's always like the really cool part of this program.
Mhm.
The one that sticks out for me is the one that I had very little to do with, was the Airdrie Library, was
Mhm.
the branding redo that the creative side of the team all did, and the new logo. And I just really love the look and the feel and how that all
Mhm.
really turned out. It was a really cool project, and they were pretty excited about it. So
Yeah, and that one's actually pretty neat too, because they're just building the building now. So we did the branding to start, and they've used that branding for their capital planning. And now, so it's the new library is I don't know, halfway there being built, and they were able to use all that branding and kind of the inspiration of the idea of a lot of the meaning behind it, and just the way it is this hub and brings this community together, to even inspire. I mean, I won't say so much the logo like inspired the building, but it really helped set the framework for how it's going to all come together, and the even art installations that they have with it. It just feels so tied in with what the concept was. So it was a really interesting project to be brought
mhm.
in before they even broke ground for the new library, and to see how it is all influencing it together, and to even think about like interior signage and like environmental design, even though that's not, what we do or who we are, we still kind of think about those things. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's been a lot of fun watching it literally come to life from the ground up.
Starting from the beginning like that, from the blueprint, so to speak, all the way through, it sounds like the finished product is going to look and feel much more organic.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And really just in alignment, I think, from who they're, how they're getting their doing their fundraising, to how the, city approvals went, to the art that's going to be there, to just it feels like everything is really aligned, and which is really cool to think how, branding and things that we could do, and to have been able to donate that to the community. Feels pretty, special too.
So, do nonprofits apply to you for this service, free service?
Absolutely. So every year, actually starting September, so as of now until November, we accept applications through our website. We've got, information and everything for that, and they do just like a little video and a little kind of written questionnaire thing on what it is that they're doing with their organization, what their goals are, their vision, and where they really see that we could help them
Yeah. And
kind of.
they pitch it to us, and it's really cool. And we get a lot of these, really, like, people put a lot of effort into these pitches and stuff. And I find it really hard every year, because we're such a small team that we can't help everybody every year. So we narrow it down, and we pick just one. But man, there's so many good organizations out there that do good work. And I really love it, because when we work with them, I actually learn a little bit of all these organizations and what they do, and
Mhm.
that I normally wouldn't even know existed. So it's really rewarding that way too. But yeah, it's really neat that they get to put in a pitch, a video, a document, everything. And yeah, it makes our job a little difficult trying to pick somebody every year, but we love it.
But what a creative way to donate. You're not giving away your cash, although certainly your time and expertise is worth a lot. But but what a wonderful way to use your talent to help others better the world.
That's the goal. And
That's-
maybe some year we'll be able to start doing more than one a year. Like maybe we'll be able to start doing more and multiple, because yeah, it is pretty fun and
Yeah.
exciting.
Right. On the way to success, Trevor, you described, quote, feeding the machine. What did you mean by that phrase?
On the way to success, feeding the machine. I guess for me, it was always trying to level up and learn, and just kind of feeding that urge to never be satisfied with where I was at. When it came to web development, it's one of those things where you'll never know everything. There's always something to learn. There's always something to do. So for me, I just, especially in those early years, I just kept pushing myself even more and more to get better and better. And I guess feed that machine to kind of help build that success. I guess never being satisfied with where I was at was kind of really helpful for me to keep going and to go to where I'm at now. And even now, like, I maybe don't learn as much as I should or as much as I used to, but I still do push myself into doing things differently. If something new comes out, I will try to adapt it or learn it right away. And if it is good, if it does help, we'll bring it in. And if not, well, we won't. But yeah, I just always feel like, yeah, just never being satisfied is kind of one of those things that I've always had for some reason, that just because I'm here, there's always another level that you can kind of get to. So yeah, I guess.
I may have interpreted it wrong, but my impression was that you pushed yourself so hard that there was a negative backlash kind of from it, maybe from your health or taking from the
Yeah, in the definition of success, I think that was part of what we learned is the always be learning and growing, but definitely that sometimes the vision you have for what you think you want for your company, or the size of your team, or the fancy office, those things I think can get in the way of the work and the relationships you have with clients. And I think we did realize that you can push too hard for just like this idea of how just a number of how, you want 20 people on your team and you want an office in downtown, and these things that seem like they're what you should aim for. And instead you should be putting the work into your health, into learning new skills, into, really just helping not, push yourself to the point of burnout to aim for something that doesn't really matter in the end. I think, yeah, that was definitely something we learned.
Yeah, well, and it was like when I just was saying I don't learn as often as I used to or as much as I should. It's because, yeah, we learned that, putting your efforts into other things too does make you a better person overall, or a better web developer, or whatever it is that you're looking to do. That time away, definitely I hit a point where I was like, okay, I need to take a step back and stop pushing myself so much. Doesn't mean it's not still there. I still love to do that every once in a while, but now, yeah, taking those breaks and taking the time for your health and friends and family and have other things is very good too.
Are there any non-negotiables as far as maintaining the health of your relationship?
That's good. That's good. I'd say we're pretty good at turning it off. Like we work pretty consistent, normal business hours, and we're also pretty good that if it's a beautiful morning and we want to take some more time and go for a long walk or like a little hike or breakfast or something together, that we can take the time to do that, and that work will still be there, and it's easy to feel motivated and to just kind of jump in that. And we used to, I think, feel really guilty about that. And I would say those kinds of things of really just seeing what we sort of each need, and if somebody needs a break or needs a little bit of time, that we don't push it like we used to. And I think that's something that I think we're always working on.
Well, and just to build off your point, one of the non-negotiables is that I think from the get-go we were very aware of how much we talked about Switchback Creative outside of Switchback Creative. And even to a point now where if we want to talk about work or, budget meetings or anything like that, we actually book an actual meeting. We actually book it just so we don't end up like talking about it while we're having dinner or while we're, driving home from the movies or whatever. That, when we're not at work, we're trying really hard not to talk about it, and we actually do book the time to have these proper meetings, because the business does need that attention. It just doesn't need it all
course.
the time, right? So
Mhm.
Well, you've got two living entities that both are demanding your attention, your marriage and your business. And so
yeah,
there has to
absolutely.
be a way of separating or balancing what each needs, or one or the other is going to take a nosedive.
Absolutely, yeah. And we even try to separate, our roles in the business where, we're both owners, equal owners of Switchback Creative, but when we're in the business, Susie's the art director, and I'm the web developer, and a lot of the final says things that get said and decisions get made are come from the art director, and you've got to check that ego at the door, that's for the good of the company, that we put that on her for her decisions. That we know that outside we're both owners, we both make decisions as far as direction and where we want to go in the company, but when it comes down to like projects and stuff like that, we try to keep the roles separate and not take it too personal, that if you have an idea that gets shot down by the art director, it happens.
Sounds like some smart policies have evolved as you've worked together.
Yes, absolutely. We've definitely learned.
Yeah.
You mentioned a couple of times now, you've mentioned health. So, what is non negotiable about maintaining your health?
Just that really without it, everything else kind of falls apart. Is that just getting the fitness and the exercise and the time, it really is everything else. Just it's the main foundation of it, is that even your marriage isn't good, your business isn't good, your clients aren't happy, none of those things if you're not taking care of yourself and really making sure that physically and mentally you're at kind of at peace with it all. And we built that into our family a lot with just the things we like to do and our pastimes, and that's always been a big part of our life, and right down to the type of dogs we have, and kind of really high energy dogs that need to be in the mountains sniffing and just moving all the time. It's because we want that same sort of lifestyle and requirement of us, and they just kind of help push us in that. So yeah, I would say that's a non-negotiable for sure, in terms of I do most of my stuff in the mornings, and in terms of my morning routine, walking with the dog and trying to do a workout is non-negotiable for me. And often Trevor's the after work kind of workout guy, and
The
that's
night owl.
yeah, that's a non-negotiable too. Is we kind of sometimes we'll do it together, but when it comes to just kind of everyday fitness stuff, that's
Mhm.
it's just everything else can wait, until that stuff is done.
Well, you learn very quickly that there is no company without us, right? And you've got to look after yourself, or it falls apart like relatively quick.
Well, is there anything you'd like to add before I wrap this up?
I don't think so. Just that, I mean, I feel so blessed and honored that I get to work with my spouse every day, and that it is such a fun journey to be on through the ups and the downs. Like there's nothing better than kind of having a bad day at work, but not going home and complaining about it, but we went through it together. So it's like often you kind of feel like every day we go to war together, and then we get to go home and kind of unwind. And being in on those things together is just, it's definitely one of the biggest joys in my life for sure, and adds a whole different dynamic that I feel like maybe people are missing out on sometimes because they're terrified to work with their spouse.
Yeah, I couldn't say it any better than that. I just think, yeah, you'd be surprised what you can accomplish when you're a team inside and out of what you do. And yeah, I think if you're thinking of going into business with your spouse, a lot of people always, they react when we say that, like, oh, wow, like that's really tough.
For you,
And
yeah.
you know what? I think you'd be surprised that it's probably not as tough as everybody makes it out to be. Like,
Well,
um,
maybe it depends on the quality of the relationship you have to begin with before you go into business.
absolutely. Yeah,
That's
no, that's
true.
true. But yeah, no, Susie summed it up perfectly there.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your business today to spend a few minutes with me. It's really fun to hear your story, and it's also fun to see the energy between the two of you, the interaction between you two. I certainly wish you the very best in your marriage and also in your business.
Well,
Thank
thank
you
you so
so much,
much.
Nancy. It was wonderful getting to chat with you.
And we'll see you perhaps some other time, but for today, it's goodbye.
Okay, thank
Anytime.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.